What's the number one reason people think real estate investing is so hard? Is real estate investing actually that hard?
I mean, it can be if you're, if you're uneducated and you're just like winging it, like I was when I first started. I had no idea what I was doing. I think the number one people think real estate investing is hard, specifically new investors, is because the people around them tell them it's hard. The people that don't own real estate. And they say, you're going to lose everything. You're going to end up under a bridge. You're going to be fixing toilets at night. People are going to trash your places, which, by the way, all that could happen. Maybe not the under the bridge part, unless you're, real special. But I think it's the people you surround yourself with. If people tell you that life's hard, people tell you that investing's hard, it's going to be hard. It's a mindset thing.
Travis, you said education, like not being educated. And I think that's part of it, but I think it's not being educated on the right stuff. Because there's a lot of educated idiots out there. And there's also a lot of people who are highly intelligent and highly educated, but not on financial freedom, not on finances, not on how to build or maintain wealth or buy assets, right? And so I think part of it is education, but actually it's more so the lack of education in the right areas. Like if you want to be financially free, you have to learn about finances. It's not something, that is taught in school. You don't hear teachers and you don't hear most parents talking about financial freedom and living life on your terms and, building wealth and creating cash flow. So I think, education's a piece of it, but I think it's important to get educated on the right things. And
everybody's taught how to get a job. That's what we're taught. We're taught how to get a job from day one. This is what literally from kindergarten. We're going to teach you how to get a job all the way through college. So, and that's your reality. So of course, real estate investing's hard. I don't understand it. So I'm going to tell you, if my son or my student or friend comes and tells me that they're going to achieve financial freedom through real estate, what do you think? Well, let me tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you what my reality is.
But I think working a 9 to 5 or working like a job for 50, 60, 70 years of your life is also hard. So it's like, choose your hard, right? Like there's other things out there harder than getting educated and learning how to invest in real estate.
But I also think that if you ask, 100 people, 95% or whatever are going to say, I'd love to invest in real estate, but I don't have the money. Because I think a lot of people know that real estate's a good investment. And I don't think they're going to say, I'm not going to invest in money because I got to, or in real estate because I got to, fix a toilet or I'm going to break a window or whatever. I think that's a later conversation maybe, but I think the number one thing is people are going to just say, well, I would do it, but I don't have the money. And so that goes back to that. And I've talked to
Fine, Mitch, maybe you're right.
Well, I'm more right than you are, Travis. So, but I just think that like, buddy. And honestly, well, if it was, I'm winning. So, but I think when I was in my 20s, investing in real estate for me was hard because I had this belief that I had to like come up with 25%. Like I had this fixture in my brain where I'm like, oh, that property's $1 million. I need 250. I don't have it. Therefore it's hard. In fact, it's so hard, it's impossible. So like breaking through that, yeah, it's a little education. It's a little bit getting around the right network, understanding deal structure. There's a lot of things there. I realized that like real estate actually doesn't have to be that hard. I don't have to like work and slave for 10 or 15 years to save up $250,000 to buy $1 million property. So I think there's a big barrier there and people are really looking at their own bank accounts and they limit themselves when looking to invest in real estate.
I think you're right that people use money as the excuse. They believe that you have to have money to invest in real estate. And that's a false story. I mean, I started investing in real estate with no money. And those deals, I bought my first home 2005, no money down, 2006, no money down, 2007, no money down. 2009 is when I started doing all my no money down seller financing deals. And every deal that I purchased 2009 through 13 was no money down. And when I first started borrowing hard money and private money, that was no money down out of my pocket, right? But I feel fortunate when I look back that I had no money. I don't think I felt fortunate at the time that I had no money. But in real estate, you often have the deal or you have the money or you have the relationships, you have, some combination of that. I look back and I think I am so fortunate that I didn't have money because it forced me to be creative. I actually believed in my mind that I could put no money down deals together because I thought the ways to buy real estate with no money down were either you borrow private money. Well, I knew nobody with money. You borrow hard money. I didn't have the relationships yet, or it was seller financing. And so the conversations that I had with sellers with the seller financing type deals, they either needed a large down payment or they didn't. And if they need a large down payment, I was kind of out of that conversation because I had no money and I knew nobody with money. But I did have this belief that it was possible to do no money down deals if you built the relationships and had enough conversations with enough people and the right conversations with the right people, that those deals would be there. And so I think some of its belief in that, yes, no money down deals are out there. People told me back in 2009, 10, 11, 12 that those did not exist, but they did, right? And then I took action on those things.
Well, I think also, this was a mindset shift for Mitch. And I think also a lot of, no money down deals, people might be listening to this going, yeah, they don't exist anymore, Gabe. By the way, they do exist. You just, like you said, have to have enough conversations and know what the hell you're talking about. But also, in our particular situation, now we were later on in life, we weren't like early in our 20s and none of our friends had money. It's like there are people with money that are sitting in bank accounts. They're getting no return. It's actually the value is diminishing with inflation. And there's people that want good operators. They want to put their money into good assets. They want to diversify outside the stock market. And so if you can have those conversations and break through the mindset shift that they're doing you a favor, but you're actually doing them a favor by giving them a return on their hard-earned money, that's also another way to take down real estate, to buy real estate. Partner with people with capital. You're the operator, you find the deal, you structure the deal, this person comes in with the capital.
I think another reason people think it's hard is, we're so ingrained to trade our time for money. And so I remember early on, I really understood and really adopted the idea that building wealth and making money were two completely different things. So if I showed up to work or I exchanged my time for money, I'm making money, but I'm not necessarily building any kind of long-term wealth. But there were other activities like building relationships, looking at deals, talking to people, going to networking type. I didn't go to a lot of events back then, but introducing myself to people, getting around people in the real estate world. It's not like every dollar that I traded gave me $1 in my pocket.
Every hour you traded.
Right. Yeah. Every hour I traded didn't directly, correspond to making money, but I understood the idea of making money and building wealth being very different. And I chose to have more time and energy spent on activities that were wealth building activities, which were looking at deals, analyzing deals, meeting people, building relationships that paid me nothing up front. And I think that's a big piece that's hard for people to do is when they go and actively do something they think they should, or they're used to, or they're conditioned to getting paid for that. And as soon as you can understand the difference between making money and building wealth, and you do more wealth building activities that don't put an immediate dollar in your pocket, you can actually set yourself up for the long term to have a bunch of wealth that then, and buying assets and puts money in your pocket every single month versus going and trading your time at a job for the dollar and giving half that to the man.
Well, I think when you talk about making money or building wealth, there's another way that I think about saying that is it's transactional or it's relational. And I think transactional is making money. You go and you trade your time and you get a paycheck. In fact, most of us sell our time to the highest bidder, whether it's an hourly or a salary. We look around and we say, who's going to pay us the most for our life? So it's very transactional. I give you this, you give me that. Now, relational or building wealth is different because wealth is not just like money or cash flow or equity. Wealth is also like relationships. And I think a lot of wealth comes from relationships, not only like personal fulfillment because of awesome, genuine relationships, but also like partners or capital providers or deal finders or mentors or whatever. I think wealth is rooted in relationships, and relationships, it's the exact opposite of transactional. You don't show up to a relationship and say, what am I going to get? You show up to a relationship and say, hey, what am I going to give? And over time, what are we going to build together? And so I think that that's where my brain changed. In fact, years ago, when I joined my GoBundance, I joined the mastermind of GoBundance, I had this transactional mindset where I'm like, well, if I'm going to spend this money, why am I not bringing something home? And I think Travis was the one. He's like, hey man, it's different. You got to build these relationships. Well, I don't think anyway. So it was different. And I realized over time that relationships, that's the root of all wealth in all different directions versus this show up and get something right away, transactional nature. And it's hard for people to break that.
But I think some of it's like the time you put into it, right? I think sometimes you have to give up the short-term time for money to go put your time and energy and efforts into wealth building activities. I mean, I think about back in 2008 or 2009, right? I do my first seller finance deal. It replaces my 30-hour-a-week minimum wage job. So now I was in the position of like, it replaced that job. I could go back to work the following year and my actual cash flow between the job and my rental properties would be double than if I just quit the job. Right? So I could have kept that job and had the rentals and be bringing twice as much money home. But I chose to quit that job because I replaced that income because I understood that my time was more valuable spent putting more deals together. Had I not quit that job after that year, that 30-hour-a-week minimum wage job, I don't know that I'd have the time and energy to go put more deals together. But because I left that job, I was giving up my hourly pay, which was almost nothing, right? But to go spend that 30 hours a week doing something different. I spent way less time putting deals together that I don't think I would have had the time and energy to do had I been working all day at a job and exchanging my time for money. So sometimes you really do need to replace that short-term pay to go build long-term wealth by trading what you're doing during that period of time.
I also think that real estate investing, if people are truly committed to it, I think it's hard at first. I'm not going to lie. I think that people, I do get tired of the people online that are like, it's easy, do the thing and you make the money. And maybe things are tough for me. It was hard. And I think it's hard when you start out with no relationships and you start out with maybe not the right mindset and not the right education. It's hard. It is hard. Like I'll tell you, buying my first duplex was way harder and way more stressful than taking down 160 units that Mitch and I are working on right now. I mean, because you don't have the relationships, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the lenders to talk to, you don't have maybe private money lenders, you don't have the insurance person to talk to, you don't understand even how to underwrite the thing, right? And I think, and you say this all the time, Gabe, like people give up usually. I tried to buy the duplex. It was hard and the thing was hard and the bank was kicking my ass and I didn't understand it. And then it's hard and then I quit.
Also, welcome to life, man. Life, like, honestly, like, I don't think, like, what do you do the first time that's not hard? Like, go wakeboarding. Let me know how that goes. You know what I'm saying?
It was great for me. I picked it the first time. It was awesome. I looked amazing. People loved me.
It didn't go well for you because you're not that coordinated. But what I'm trying to say though is like everything's hard the first time you do it, right? A couple of times, and it's the same thing with real estate. I mean, I look at real estate today as it's a bit of a sport. Like we show up every day, we do our best to play the sport, and most days you do awesome. Every once in a while you get you sprain an ankle or whatever, and you get back up. But I just think that like, or going to the gym, like right, like Gabe goes to the gym. Obviously you don't, Travis, which you probably should because you're looking like a marshmallow lately. But I think that like
marshmallow with a black hat.
I'm just messing around. You look great for. Anyway, so, but the point is though, like also welcome, like the first time you do anything, it's difficult. So I think people also need to just get over that. Like, who cares? It's hard for a couple of months. Go figure it out. Like put together your first deal.
I think about those first few deals or those early deals. Like I think back to when I was like self-managing. The shit was hard. And I had friends making fun of me. Like, I mean, we just got done recording an episode how I was like riding around on my friggin' mountain bike and doing odd and end landscaping jobs and like, cars that didn't work, very well or whatever. They're
scraping the bottom, man.
Yeah. But it's like, I remember thinking like, I watched my friends finance cars they couldn't afford, buy houses that they couldn't afford. They were living paycheck to paycheck, or they were getting in a bunch of college debt, like that they're still paying off 20 years later. Like that's also hard. And I remember thinking like, man, like, I don't know that much about real estate. I own these rentals, like tenant moves out. This property's a fucking mess. I don't have money in the bank. Like, oh my gosh, I pulled the carpet. I'm so glad there's hardwood under there. That just like saved me the money I don't have. Like, I'm dealing with crazy tenants. Like I had these tenants early on that were like harassing people going by and throwing beer bottles at them. Like there's like active leaks going in, like through the walls and they won't let me in. Like just crazy shit. That's like, it's hard, but I also think like, someone that's working, full time, husband and wife, both working full time and they barely get to see their kids and they have to pay, for childcare, and then they have cars that they can't afford. Like, and they're, I mean, like that, that's also hard. So it's like, some of my friends that made fun of like that I looked homeless and acted homeless even when I still had like millions of dollars worth of real estate. And I was just trying to figure it out. Like it's just a different kind of hard. But I remember thinking, I don't care about the short term. Like I believe so strongly that like owning real estate, cash flowing real estate over a long period of time was going to put me in a better position than trading my time for money at any kind of job. I was willing to make that sacrifice. And at the time, I was asked that once, like, man, sacrifice so much early on, but it didn't feel like a sacrifice early on. Like it just felt like you're just doing what you need to do.
Dude, I know a guy locally, a friend of a friend that worked at Les Schwab, which is a big tire company here in the Northwest. I don't think it's national. And those guys rush, man. You ever go to a Les Schwab, they run to your car. The benefits are great. Like if you got a job out of high school working at Les Schwab, you were making bank, and people made an entire career of that. And I know I think it's been 20 or 30 years. He's been working, working most Saturdays when it's snowy out. That's when everybody comes to have their tires changed, busting his ass, building in what he had in his mind, sort of equity in this job. I think people sometimes think there's this equity in the job, like I'm building seniority, I'm building my pay up. They just cut him, let him loose, right? Just line item on an expense sheet. And now you're like, that's sad. That's why I get, I think, so passionate about like, take control of your life early, or maybe you're not that young, but do it now. Because if you're just sitting around waiting for the world to take care of you, or the government, or the corporate job, or whatever the case is, that's a lot harder to me than putting your licks in early, figuring it out, building relationships, and building a cash flowing real estate portfolio.
Look, there's a lot more to life than just building wealth, but we've all used wealth to create the life we want. Like for us, it's about the freedom, right? We all get to spend a lot of time with our family, with our kids, with our wives. We get to travel. We get to do some amazing, cool things, around the world and around the country. And we've gotten to spend time with people, family members who have gotten sick and who've passed away. And so like, we're very fortunate, and I don't want, to make this seem just about money, because for us, it's the money allows us to have the life we want and the freedom of how we spend our day and our week and our month and really our whole life. I also think, when it comes to building wealth, if you're working for someone else, a lot of the time, if you're not creating wealth and financial freedom for yourself, you're oftentimes helping someone else get wealthy, and you're building financial freedom for them. And you're like, I had a conversation with this guy recently, and he's getting paid well. And he realized, but then he was like, yeah, man, my boss was like, he's like, sorry, you couldn't get a hold of me. I've been in Europe for the last week. And he's realizing like he's running the business. He's that person's who. He's running that business and he's great at it, and he's good at it, and he's getting compensated well. But so the owner of the business can have the life that he wants, right? And so oftentimes, like if you're not taking, your finances in your own hands, and you're not creating some level of wealth, and for us, it's been done through real estate. You're oftentimes spending your entire life or your entire day, week, month, whatever, making someone else wealthy so they can live the life that they want.